Aloha Big Wave Trading family. Before we get into the new long positions, I just want to make mention really quick. The previous video lesson, I showed you the market index charts. I showed you the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. All of those indexes, but the NASDAQ are in near overbought territory on their momentum and trending MACD, RSI oscillators. And along with that, another low volume V-shaped move right into resistance in the middle of the worst seasonal period for stocks. During the FOMC meeting, it's a perfect sell the news event on Wednesday. We'll see what happens. I'm going to continue to take signals, but because of the situation we're in, I continue to tighten up my long requirements. So it has to be a really good setup for me to go long. So with that in mind, let's get to the new long positions. Excuse me. First one I want to go over is actually CTAS. CTAS showed up in only one scan, my CanSlim scan. So it's a CanSlim quality stock. This is a very nice technical pattern, and if we go back and look at a longer term weekly chart, you can see the nice steady stair-step fashion that this stock has been in ever since 2012. Well, it kind of has another a big ascending base pattern forming here, and we kind of have a symmetrical triangle forming right here. So with the bounce off the 50-day moving average and support, it looks like an excellent low risk, high potential reward entry area. So I want to get long CTAS. It's a CanSlim quality stock, so 2% of my account capital. 134.80. It is not extended from the 20-day moving average, so I can use the high of the day. My first cut loss is going to be right here, 131.75. My final cut loss is going to be right here, 130.09. It eclipses this low. I'm going to let it pull all the way back here unless it eclipses it on heavy volume. But if it eclipses it on lower volume, I'm not going to be raising that final stop up. It will only be raised if this low is violated on heavy volume. But CTAS, very nice long-term chart. Once again, this is one of those stocks with an amazing reward risk potential. So let's say that we're wrong on the entire trade. If you only use the final sell stop level, you're only going to risk about 4%. And let's say you only get like a bit of an uptrend from here to here. You're looking at 18%. So you're looking at over a 4-to-1 reward risk ratio. But what I'm really looking for is hopefully something more along the lines of something like this, a 23% gain. And if, everything goes perfect, maybe we get something like from here to here, a 50% gain. But, that's being very hopeful with this stock. But CTAS, excellent setup. The bottom line is very low risk, big potential reward. That takes us then to TVTY. TVTY was spotted by a chat room member also, and he has a very good eye for the stocks that I'm going to go long. So I think that's excellent confirmation. This is a former CanSlim quality stock, so it initially was in my CanSlim quality send because I have CanSlim scan because I have not reset it since the lows in early 2016 in January, February, because we haven't had a market-wide 20% pullback since then. But TVTY was a former CanSlim quality long, so it gets 1% for being a former CanSlim quality stock, and it's also in my low price perfect speculator scan. So if I wouldn't have opened up the perfect speculator scan to include stocks under $50, this stock wouldn't have been found. But since it was a former CanSlim quality stock, 1%, and since it is a low price perfect speculator quality scan, we'll do another 1%, 2% long position, but it's ever so slightly extended from the 20-day moving average. Not far enough to be voided as a new long, but just far enough to make sure that we have to keep a lower overall asset allocation. But if anything gives it any kind of, to not care that it's even extended from the 20-day moving average, the stock's right on the 50-day moving average, had a pocket pivot point signal around the 10-day moving average, so everything is there. Let's say TVTY fails all the way, all back here, and you use that August low as your stop. You risk about 9%. Hopefully with this one, we can maybe get a move of 65%. We're looking at over 5-to-1, 6-to-1 reward risk ratio, and if everything goes right, in an immaculate perfect world, i.e. before 2008, we'd be looking at a possible 139% gain, half it, so maybe a 70% gain to about a 9% risk. But sadly, we don't live in the pre-2008 world where my long signals would do this. So what I want to do for TVTY, my first cut loss level on TVTY is going to be right here, 37.60. And my final cut loss level is going to be 35.65, that low a day right there. You can also use this low and this low as your final cut loss. You could use this low and this low as your final cut loss. But me, it's going to be the September lows, 37.60, and August lows, 35.65. I want to get long limit order, 38.90. Remember, only 1% of my account capital because 1% each scan, 2% halved because it's extended from the 20-day moving average. 1% limit order, 38.90. I love this longer term chart. It's a Zoom 2 on Telechart. Beautiful. CTAS is very nice, but TVTY, as you can tell, look at the vacillations in the movement upward in CTS compared to TVTY. Minus this little November scare here and this one shakeout day here, it's been much more steady and looks really nice. So TVTY, 1%, my account capital, 38.90 limit order. And then the two other new long positions is HCCI. HCCI initially was in my green bop for the past 20 days scan. So because it has green bop for at least the past 20 days, I want to look at stocks that are doing this because that's showing extreme strength, and you can see all these big tall volume bars. That's a massive accumulation. You can see all the bullish wicks off the lows since it started to trend higher, all the open body candle bars. We have a nice move today on above average volume. If it would have had max green bop for one more day, it would have made both of my bop scans. But when I did some further research, HCCI is semi-can slim quality. It's got some recent earnings and sales growth. And by the way it's being accumulated, clearly they expect more to continue. So it's semi-can slim quality, 1%. It's in my green bop scan for the past 20 days, 2%. But it also, like TVTY, is ever so slightly extended from its 20-day moving average. However, there's clear support levels here, 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 and here. The 50-day moving average is racing up towards the recent lows, so it's not extended enough to pass on because the 20-day moving average is pretty close, just like TVTY. We just have to half the signal. So HCCI, excuse me, 1% of my account capital into this one, limit order 2030. My first cut loss level is going to be 1974, and the final cut loss level 1930. Now I am going to personally give my final cut loss level back to 1870. But if the first cut loss level 1974 goes right here, this low right here, and if it does it on heavy volume especially, and or if it does it while losing green bop even more especially, there is no way I'll let this final 1870 come into play. But I just want to let you know that that's going to be my final cut loss level. And then an add signal in JNCE. This is an IPO stock, so obviously I want to get long any IPO that looks like this. Green bop is hard to come by in IPO stocks. I mean, look how long it took for JNCE to get it. And when it does come in a stock like JNCE, you very rarely get a pretty decent low risk setup. So you have the uptrend with accumulation green bop, the pullback a little heavy on the volume, but there's a lot of intraday reversals off the lows. And then following our initial long signal, it has held up well. And now we have an add signal, pocket pivot point signal, heavier volume. And even though bop isn't as high as on the first day, it pulled back and held those recent highs in the green bop. So it's still showing a series of higher highs. So the increase in bop is good enough, even though it's not higher than here, to be a new long position, especially an add signal with such a very good looking IPO stock. So this was in my IPO scan, and it was confirmed in my price volume bop scan. Get long, 1550. First cut loss for me, 1465. Final cut loss, 1441. Should be 2% of my account capital is a new long position, but it's an add signal, so it's only going to be 1%. All right, everyone, that's the new long positions for Wednesday. Great luck during the FOMC.